tariffs. We've been talking about these tariffs for the last few weeks, right?
Sure.
But so all these premiers met up, and and it seems like all of them have different opinions.
Yeah.
And Alberta's Danielle Smith and Quebec's premier had this to say in a clip.
From the Alberta perspective, under no circumstances will Alberta agree to cut off oil and gas exports.
By the way, I won't threat Donald not to send electricity. And he told me very clearly that we can avoid those tariffs if we do what needs to be done with the border.
Yeah, so they're on the complete opposite end of, I guess, of what Doug Ford was suggesting.
Mm-hmm. So what do you... To me, I look at that. I don't necessarily disagree with it because Alberta, right, exports a lot of oil.
Yeah.
Right. And it makes sense for them to not just jump on the side of let's attack them back. You know, it makes a lot of sense for them to be like, okay, let's try to solve this without it getting too complicating, right?
Yeah.
Which is what everyone essentially wants, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't completely disagree with Danielle Smith, right? But I do think I don't think you're going to get a unified approach here, like Trudeau keeps saying. He keeps saying that, oh, no, we want a unified approach. And then to me, he doesn't really come out, and he's not really making a lot of these statements. You keep seeing a lot of it coming out from premiers, you know, all across the country.
Yeah.
Or like you'll even hear certain local politicians talk about it more than Trudeau does, right? It's like he's just playing.
Has he had a meeting with all of them to maybe discuss to be like a...
Yeah.
He's had 2 meetings.
Okay.
It's just they're on totally different ends. I guess premiers have a lot more power in Canada than traditionally, like in the States or something.
Yeah, no, when it comes to these kind of things, the prime minister, I think a lot of those things are provincial, right?
Yeah.
And the prime minister only has control over federal things,
Yeah.
right? So,
I see, yeah.
Yeah, so in provincial, I don't think he can really tell them, hey, you got to do this or you got to do that, right?
Yeah.
But a unified approach looks better for the whole country, right? If you're going to go up against somebody like Trump, you want the whole country to be on the same page, right? Because imagine if I don't know, Alberta starts acting a different way and BC's acting a different way and Ontario's acting a different way. If you're Trump, you're just going to be like, okay, fine, I'll just do business with Alberta.
Yeah.
I'll just, you know, like you can get around a country.
That's weird, though.
Against each other.
And that's not good for the country overall. I think they should have a unified stance to some extent.
It would make sense if the prime minister was one that can unify people.
Exactly. That's the other thing, right?
Right? I mean... I don't know.
I think they're thinking like they don't want to sour their relationship with Trump, but they don't understand like what you're saying, like the whole like he needs to bring them together and explain to them why maybe they should fight back a little bit for our country.
But realistically, who's going to listen to Trudeau? Like, I honestly, not too many people take him seriously. I don't think premiers take him seriously.
He's having problems with his own finance minister too now, right?
Yeah, Chrystia Freeland.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently they went over the budget for the year.
Yeah.
And then they were having tensions because of that. She's the finance minister. Her background, from what I remember, isn't even in finance.
Yeah.
But after that, I think there was something in the House about how the Conservatives were kind of grilling her, and she was like, yeah, she still sides with Trudeau, but Trudeau didn't really speak on her behalf.
Yeah.
Really.
He didn't stand up for her.
Yeah. And there's like multiple reports of them having tensions, and apparently he's even trying to recruit somebody else. I forget his name. He's the former governor of the Bank of Canada. I think he even had, he might have even had a role in UK once upon a time, but it's Trudeau's not really a unifier right now, right? I don't see him as a unifying anything.
Definitely.
Right? Like he's not, I don't know. But yeah, comparing to Alberta and Quebec's opinion, Doug Ford had a completely different opinion.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Which BC's, what's his name? Eby?
Yeah,
David Eby, he basically agreed with Doug Ford, but Doug Ford and Donald Trump had a back and forth. Sukfir, you want to play the clip of Doug Ford?
Sending a message to the U.S. You come and attack Ontario, you attack livelihoods of people of Ontario and Canadians. We're going to use every tool in our toolbox to defend Ontarians and Canadians across the border. And let's hope that never comes to that point. Let's hope we can get through this trade deal. The problem is not with Canada. The problem is with China. And China shipping in parts to Mexico, Mexico slapping on Made in Mexico stickers, and shipping them up through the U.S. and Canada and taking American and Canadian jobs. That's
Imagine
the
we had a
problem.
prime minister
and as
like
I said
this.
yesterday, it's very, very clear. Mexico has a choice
I would vote
to
for
stand
him.
with Beijing or stand with Washington. I was speaking for Ontario yesterday. The options that we have, the tools that we have in our toolbox. We'll be meeting with the premiers on Sunday and Monday going into Tuesday. That's going to be up to each jurisdiction. I'm talking on behalf of Ontario. And the number one focus now is to protecting jobs against the attack coming from the tariffs from President-elect Trump.
Okay, so Trump, basically, I think he was on the New York Stock Exchange floor.
Yeah, he was doing the opening bell.
Yeah, and somebody asked him about what Doug Ford said about how he'll use energy or cut off their energy, and he replied,
well, that's okay if he does that, that's fine, but the United States is subsidizing Canada. It's truly a subsidy, and we shouldn't have to do that, and we have a great relationship. I have so many friends in Canada, but we shouldn't have to subsidize a country, and we're subsidizing them for more than $100 billion a year, and we shouldn't have to be doing that.
And then before you react, Doug Ford then replied to this.
Trump responded to your energy threat yesterday saying, that's fine, go ahead and do it. What is your response to President-elect?
Well, what you didn't hear on the tapes after, he says, I really want to make a deal with Canada. That's the first time he's ever said that. And I respect the position he's coming from, and I'm sure he respects the position we're coming from. As he also mentioned, he has lots of friends in Canada. Well, we have lots of friends in the U.S. That's the reason we need to make a deal.
Okay, so now, I think the way that I look at all of that, like you were saying you want him to be, you'd vote for him to be prime minister. Like, I don't necessarily hate the way that he's going about it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a medium between what Danielle Smith and the Quebec premier is saying and the way that Doug Ford's going about it, right? Because to me, I look at it as from Trump's reaction, right? You see how he was kind of, I don't know how you guys saw it. To me, he kind of was a little bit taken back and he's like, I don't think we need to go there.
Yeah.
Right?
I got from him that he doesn't care.
That's what you got?
I got that.
I feel like he's always condescending.
We're doing, he's very condescending. Like,
no, he's that.
Like, I'm doing Canada a favor. I don't care.
Okay. He said, okay, that's fine. If he wants to do that, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then he said, us and Canada have always had a good relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And then he continued on with how we're subsidizing Canada. We've been doing it for a year for trillions of dollars. Right. But if I look at that, right, what I see is instead of being like Doug Ford or like Danielle Smith, right, if you had a prime minister who knows how to play the game, I think Trudeau's just kind of hurt by all this 51st state BS. Right. You could be the governor of Canada or whatever. Right. Yeah. And I think that has made him kind of stay quiet and a little bit behind the scenes. And these premiers are acting in whichever way they think is best, right?
Yeah.
But really, I think Trump would have made a deal here.
Yeah.
Right? The way when I saw that, I think Trump would have made a deal. I think you needed somebody who can kind of take those shots at him without actually harming the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Doug Ford's taking shots, right? But he's like, we'll cut off their energy. We might stop buying their beer.
Like
and then he waited.
That's the toolbox he was talking about, right? He's going to cut off their energy.
Yeah.
That's what he was talking about.
But again, like if you're a little bit offended by his banter with that 51st governor stuff, right? Then just hit him right back. You know, like like politicians do. And if you're not capable of that and your only thing is to be really serious and just talk about foreign policy, right?
Yeah.
Which that's what I'm saying. I don't think he was serious.
Yeah.
Right? He's just joking around. I think he would have got a deal done with Canada.
Yeah.
Right? All you have to do is strengthen up the borders. I think it could have got done, right? Now everyone's feelings are hurt and they're getting offended. So now it's like, we'll do this and we'll do that.
But then it gets a little more serious on his end too, right? You said it, you got to kind of back it up. It's hard to tell with this guy if he's joking. He just posted a meme today, how it started and how it's going. It was like his mugshot and then Time Person of the Year.
Well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you rewind back to when Biden came into office, right, and what they made this guy go through, right, that Person of the Year thing, you can see it's a complete shift,
Yeah.
right, to where
Sure.
they are now from where they were.
But so there seems to be like two different sides of it, right? There's Doug Ford, and he's a lot more harsher, cutting off energy. And then there's Alberta and Quebec that don't want to do that. Obviously, it's in their best interest. So like the question is, which would work best? Do you take a harsher stance or a softer stance, or is there something in the middle? Because all these people disagreeing, doesn't that give Trump an area to do what you said, like pick and choose? Like let's do some deals with
Theoretically, but I would assume, right, that if there's a leader, he should have the ability to just be like, let's see what this guy's actually going to do.
Yeah.
Right. So you go and you clean up the borders, right? If he's taking shots, you take shots, right? You don't just back down. You take a couple little subtle jabs, right? But then you clean up the border and you also let it be known that, hey, listen, we're going to clean up the border, right? There is a lot of things going back and forth. There's illegal migrants, there's drugs, right? Back and forth, right? And we're going to clean it up because it's best for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. You don't just say it's not just for the United States, it's best for everybody. Clean up the borders. It's fine. Right. And then from there, if he's like, no, they're not clean enough, X, Y, and Z, and he's actually going to impose these tariffs, then you go, okay, fine. Right. If you're going to do that, we're going to start doing this. Right.
Like that's the one thing that they all agreed with across the board, from Trudeau, all the premiers too. They're like, we're going to tighten up the borders. They're already starting to.
Yeah.
Every single border.
Okay. The one thing that we didn't talk about is this export tax.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously Alberta is going to be like, hey, listen, we're not for that.
She said she's not for tariffs of any kind.
Yeah.
Exporting or importing.
Because why would the US then buy oil from Alberta if it's so highly priced?
Yeah.
Right? Unless they absolutely need to.
For
right?
sure.
So if these guys are talking about, like Doug Ford, I think he was talking about not buying alcohol, American alcohol.
Yeah.
Right. The LCBO is the biggest purchaser of alcohol, I think, in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you're talking about cutting off their energy, right? Like it is going to go back and forth, right? A lot of harm can be done, right?
Tit for
And
tat.
ultimately, who is it going to hurt? The citizens,
Yeah.
the consumers, the people who are trying to buy these, especially in Canada. You have the Canadian dollar plummeting. It's at a 4.5, 5-year low. Right now, they just decreased the interest rates 50 basis points, right? So the overnight bank rate's at 3.25%.
Yeah.
If you now have these tariffs come in, how low can you even take these bank rates, right?
Yeah.
Housing prices haven't fell too much yet, right? This guy's creating somewhat inflation with his holiday tax
Yeah.
idea, right? So, I mean, there's definitely going to be a little bit of tension there. But to your point, I think the way I would handle this is being somewhere in the middle,
Yeah.
right? Where you try the approach where you don't let these tariffs get imposed, but you do it in a way where you can do a back and forth with Trump, right? Jokingly, right? And see where he's sitting, right? And then if he imposes these tariffs, you react. You don't react to what he says. You react to what you think he might do,
Yeah.
right? I think Doug Ford is really quick to be like, he said that? Well, no.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that is how you deal with a bully if you're actually getting bullied, right? But if he's basically a comedian. Right?
Yeah.
He's joking around.
Yeah.
Joke around back. Take
Yeah.
some shots at him.
For
you
sure.
can't. There's a
I don't think Trudeau's the guy to do that, but
because you remember what happened with I don't know if you guys remember North Korea's Kim Jong-un when he was talking all this and he was
he
like,
started calling him rocket.
he's like, I have nuclear weapons, this and that. Nobody had ever said this kind of stuff to him before.
Yeah.
And Trump was like, well, I got a bigger red button, right? You're a little rocket man. I'm big rocket man. Right? So like even, it's not like he's very scared of, like, if you're going to challenge him, if we do think he has somewhat of an ego, what do you think he's going to do? These tariffs are coming then.
Yeah.
Right. To me, I think this Doug Ford, this little bit of an escalation kind of guarantees that these tariffs might be coming.
In some form.
Right.
We just don't know how big they'll
I don't know. I think from what I took from Doug Ford, he's willing to have a discussion about it. He seemed like I know he's taking jabs like, oh, we have friends in the States too, but I think he's open to having a discussion.
You know, go ahead.
Even Trump's response, like he seems like he's getting a little softer on it too.
Yeah.
I think both of them are. That's what everybody wants in the end. Nobody wants to pay tax.
Maybe like it was a joke initially, but then when he realized like, oh no, Canada's taking it a bit seriously, he backed out.
Trump's a bit of a comedian. That's what he does.
Yeah.
I think it went the other way. I think initially he was joking, and now
now
Doug
he's
Ford is going
serious.
to piss him off.
I guess we'll see. We'll see
Because
what
the
happens.
way
in the
that he
coming
was
weeks.
like, we've been subsidizing Canada for years, trillions of dollars. He wouldn't have said that
Yeah.
unless somebody asked him, like, hey, Doug Ford said he's going to cut off the energy, right? He's like, I don't know if it gets there.
Yeah.
I don't know
Right.
why it would get there. Because I think, look, the one thing I don't get, we're reacting to these clips, right? We see this stuff on Instagram, TikTok, social media, wherever, right?
Yeah.
The news. But don't these guys have each other's numbers, right? Like they just see this on Instagram or
Yeah.
TikTok and they're just like, well, he said this, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this, right? Like you'd think they have a little bit more information
Maybe it's
than us.
like a publicity thing.
No, I think it's a stupid thing. But yeah, I think Saskatchewan's premier was reacting to this and basically said that we need an
The
election year.
government may be looking at export tariffs on oil, potash, and uranium, export tariffs on our own products, so taxing Canadians on products that we are exporting, which is exactly ridiculous as it sounds. And most certainly we would say that any talk of that is not on in this province. It's a betrayal of those that work in the industry. We see President-elect Trump with one of the strongest mandates that we've seen in recent history to negotiate on behalf of Americans over the course of the next 4 years. Alongside that, we see a Republican majority in the Senate and in the House. We're over our 4 years of what would be considered the norm for our minority administration here in Canada. And maybe what we need is someone to have the same mandate in Canada to negotiate with that incoming Trump administration. And so we would ask Prime Minister Trudeau to do the right thing, to give Canadians the opportunity to make the choice on who is going to represent them at the table.
So the no confidence vote already failed 3 times with this guy. Yeah, they all keep. I mean, he wants an election too now.
With the election.
And the budget too. The budget they came in over budget too. I think tensions keep rising there.
Yeah, because apparently Chrystia Freeland wasn't up for this holiday tax cut.
Yeah,
And Trudeau's doing it anyways, right?
clearly a stunt to try to.
So then obviously if you're already over budget, now
Yeah.
you're getting more over budget. But yeah, I feel like these no confidence votes, they're not going to do anything, right? You could say whatever you want, right? The election's going to be in October 2025 unless the NDP flips.
Yeah,
That's all I see, right? So the NDP has to be like, hey, listen, this has gone too far. You know, we're going to flip, right? And then if you think about this, like how they all think about it, right? If you
Yeah.
actually think they think about the country, they might do this, right? But strategically, if you're Trudeau or Jagmeet Singh,
yeah,
right? Are you going to call for an election when the Conservatives have all the momentum?
for sure. It's not in your best interest.
Do you want to lose?
Right.
Either of them,
Right?
Yeah,
You're not going to, right? Instead, what would you rather do? You would rather play this thing out, let Trudeau come, let these guys argue, do whatever they got to do. And then after this tariff thing goes away, the summer comes around, you know, people are feeling a little bit happier, interest rates are lower. And then you're going into the fall, you know, better economy, Trudeau solved the tariff situation. And now you call an election.
I don't know. This guy
Higher
keeps
chances, right?
he keeps shooting himself in the foot. I feel like though.
Who?
Trudeau, he'll just keep messing up.
I mean, I don't disagree with him. I mean, not Trudeau, not Trudeau. I don't disagree with the Saskatchewan premier. Like an election right now, I think Canada would love an election right now.
Yeah,
They're not going to get it though,
yeah,
strategically speaking, right? But even while all this is going on, like we keep saying, Trudeau wasn't really. You don't really see him out. Like all these
No.
premiers are all over the place.
Yeah,
You
all
see,
over
Doug
the
Ford
news.
keeps reacting to it like he is the prime
Yeah,
minister.
that's what he's doing.
But our
That's
prime
what-
minister's not saying anything.
that part of what you were saying, like how he should be prime minister, he's acting like one.
Yeah.
At least he has a backbone, right? Whether or not you disagree
Yeah.
with him, he's like, no, I'm here for Canada.
I see him more in the news than anyone else.
Doug Ford?
Yeah.
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 Especially than Trudeau.
Yeah, right now. Yeah, Trudeau's just been, So here's this clip of him at I think he was at the Equal Voice Gala. It happens every year in Ottawa. I think it was in Ottawa. And he's talking about Kamala Harris.
Shouldn't be that way. It wasn't supposed to be that way. We were supposed to be on a steady, if difficult sometimes, march towards progress. And yet, just a few weeks ago, the United States voted for a second time to not elect its first woman president. Everywhere, women's rights and women's progress is under attack, overtly and subtly. But I want you to know that I am, and always will be, a proud feminist.
That's great. Who's that helping?
Yeah, like talk about our actual problems.
Is this guy an idiot? Like the person you're negotiating these tariffs with, he just won the election against a person you're saying should have won.
Americans in general, you're just telling them they voted for the wrong person.
Right? And then you have Doug Ford over here sending ad campaigns trying to convince Americans that they need Canadians. And our prime minister is like, hey, guys, you got the wrong guy in office.
Right?
I don't think Trump winning had anything to do with Kamala, specifically Kamala being a woman.
Yeah.
But what was the context of that clip? Like, why did he say that? Why was he?
He's a proud feminist.
He's at.
Did someone ask him something?
Yeah, I'm guessing somebody, or he was giving a speech. It's an Equal Voice Gala.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's one of those kind of situations. But like he's just stupid to me, right? Like, how can you possibly, like, if you're having this back and forth, right? These tariffs can be very bad for Canada, right? And who's even is Kamala Harris even in the news anymore? Like, who's talking about her?
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
Just shut up, right? Like, why? Trump's gonna then see that, and now he's gonna be like, you're gonna go back and forth. Like, is this his passive aggressive way of taking?
And
a
he
shot?
just came back from that trip.
Seems passive aggressive,
right?
To talk to him right? Trudeau
to Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah,
that was like a week or so ago.
But still, like, you come back from that and then you're gonna say, well, by the way, you guys elected the wrong president.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. It is passive aggressive because he doesn't know how to be upfront.
Yeah,
and confront him head on.
But what he basically even said that, like, we're making fun of it all here, right? But you guys are women, right? So like he basically said she didn't get elected because she's a woman.
Right.
What, you think that's what happened there?
No,
like, I do think that's part of the reason that, like, she didn't get elected.
She didn't get elected.
But that's not the reason.
It has nothing to do with her being a woman.
I think a little bit of it does. America's not ready for a woman president.
Okay, in
But I don't
general,
think
a
that-
woman's not going to get elected in the States, even if she was more qualified than Kamala. Like, you could agree with that.
I think
right?
Hillary was.
I agree with that. Didn't
Hillary was qualified.
Didn't she win the popular vote?
Who?
Hillary?
I think so.
I'm pretty
I don't
sure
know
she won the
for sure.
popular vote when she was running against Trump. But yeah, I don't think I could see that it might be harder for a woman to get elected.
Definitely harder,
right? But
like a Tulsi Gabbard, you put her up, she'll be credible. I don't think like gender would play as big of a part. And here, I don't think it played any part.
Well, what the hell was Kamala's whole campaign, right? If she was actually going to run one, right? Why wouldn't you distance yourself from Biden or own what Biden did and be like, I'm going to be different,
either.
right? She was like, she's just giving these weird talking points, talking in weird accents all over the place. Her little cackle. All she did was on that debate with Trump. She might have won that.
Yeah.
Because she somehow practiced it or something.
That was
Somebody
only,
gave her,
yeah.
There was like some sort of news that came out about how somebody gave her the talking points or whatever.
Or the little earpiece thing.
I don't know if that's true, but yeah. Other than that, like I still don't know what the hell she was running on.
I agree.
She doesn't know.
She didn't know. She still doesn't know. Right? And
I don't even think she wanted to be elected.
That
Huh?
she stepped into it. It's not like people voted for her to win the electoral candidate. Like,
which in of itself is that
That's
democratic?
weird too.
Like,
What's democratic about that?
right?
You're supposed to elect the person.
Like they would have had a better shot, I think, if they had primaries, right? Like, I don't know. To me,
so I'm just saying I agree with what you're saying. Like, she wasn't going to win, but then I also agree with Simmer. Like, the woman's not going to win. I don't see that happening.
really, I think if it's somebody who has a really solid platform, because there's a lot of idiots out there, right? Like if you actually are standing for something and you and you're good at communicating, I think a lot of the times people are bad at communicating when they're running for office, and they'll simply lose because of that. They might even have good ideas. Kamala, I think, had neither of those things, but I think she's also a bad communicator.
Yeah.
Right? Like she's not, I don't even know why she didn't go on Rogan, right? It's like who would, if you're trying
Trump has said the most outlandish things, but he still wins.
Yeah, because you keep talking, right? And people know what he says. Look what he's doing now. He's not even in office.
Yeah.
He's got the whole world tripping about tariffs.
Right.
Like everyone.
Yeah.
When Biden was in office, they weren't worried about anything because they know this guy will actually do something, right?
Where is Biden?
Where is Biden? For real. Where is he?
Nobody knows where he is. He just randomly comes out and says some stupid stuff and then
He
goes
just
away.
pardoned his son and
Right?
he's like, I'm out.
Yeah. What do you guys think about him pardoning his son?
Good. He should
Yeah,
have.
he should. Why not?
I mean, I understand him
power.
pardoning his son, but he said a bunch of times he would never do it
Yeah.
because he
He
was
said-
probably thinking that they would win again,
Yeah.
and then Kamala.
Then it would
do
look bad.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't look as bad if he didn't do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But now 1 foot out the door, why wouldn't you? Any parent would.
Apparently, he's pardoning a bunch more people too before he leaves.
He's
Right.
giving them preemptive pardons. Right? Did you hear that shit with Fauci? Apparently, he was trying to give, like, a crime hasn't even been committed yet. Or
Yeah.
he's not been accused of one, and he's trying to give him
He's
a
gonna
pardon.
pardon him beforehand?
Yeah, preemptively.
Wow.
Right? I read that somewhere. I could be wrong. Yeah. I mean, with the son thing, I get it. Right?
Yeah.
But the other part of it is from, I think what the timeline was, it goes back to if there was some money being exchanged, it would have reached Joe Biden as well, right? So he's kind of
Okay.
covering his own tracks. I don't know what of that is true or whatever, but it's just things that I've read.
Yeah.
But then when you look at his son, obviously you're going to pardon your son.
For sure.
Right?
Anyone can understand that part
But
of
you
it.
would just own it from the get-go, right? Why are you going to put Trump through the ringer,
Yeah.
right? And then do everything you did with Trump, right? Basically, now it looks like they were just doing that to make sure that he didn't win the election.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, right? So then now you're going to, after all that, when you're like the moral compass, like, we do right, this and that. And now you're like, I'm pardoning my son.
So before he said he wasn't gonna pardon
He
him?
said it a bunch of times,
Yeah.
more than once.
Yeah.
But why? What was his reason?
He's just saying it's no one's above the law. I can't do this. It doesn't matter that he's my son.
And then now when he's
Then he
about
turned
to
around and
leave,
did it.
he did it.
Because he realized he's going to be out of office soon.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, these tariffs, they're kind of halfway split down the middle.
Yeah.
And I don't think Trudeau's helping anything.
No.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think last week I was talking about how these tariffs, I don't think Trump's going to impose them. But I now feel,
he's more inclined to.
yeah, I think this little bit of a back and forth. I think Trudeau really doesn't know how to handle criticism. I think he's not that kind of guy, right? Like, the kind of people, like if you make even a light joke, they get so offended, right? Like they're super sensitive.
That's Trump
Right.
that you're saying?
No, I'm saying that's Trudeau.
Oh.
Right? Like he doesn't know how to react back, right? He doesn't know how to joke back, or I don't know. It looks like to me because he's just hiding from it.
Right.
As soon as the tariff talk happened, the guy flies out there. He's like, "Oh, we're good.
I'm going
right?"
to go solve this
And
right
then-
away. Yeah.
And then Trump starts putting out memes,
Even that felt pretty passive aggressive, this Kamala thing.
right? It's like a little passive aggressive jab. Like, just say what you mean,
Yeah.
right? Like
I
that's
think a guy like Trump would respect that a lot more if he actually did that. He's trying to get that out of him.
yeah.
Trudeau's not the guy. He's not
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't agree with Doug Ford's approach completely, but like his idea is like you can't let a bully keep bullying you.
For
right?
sure.
What are you gonna do? Just take his shot?
Yeah.
Right? He's like, then we can do stuff too, right?
At the end of the day, you have to have that approach. If the tariffs are coming for sure, you can't
Yeah.
just stand there and take it. You got to react in some aspect.
For sure, I agree. But like I said before, if it's not going to happen, then why are you going to rise tensions, right? Just because you don't know how to see what's coming, right? Somebody's words are gonna get you reacting so much,
Yeah.
where you're just gonna say things to,
Trump's got all these guys spiraling.
right? It's working in his favor, I think.
The premier in Manitoba was making a list, checking it twice. Did you see that?
yeah. But I think that clip was out of context, to be fair. Yeah, let's move on to